Let's get started!
Clever, comrade. Look at this. People think I'm a certified hottie.
Yeah, Deadline, I kinda keep seeing thirsty comments about you whenever I read some MHA pre-release stuff.
People think I'm hot.
Okay then, congratulations, Deadline. Some people on the internet found you hot.
Well, this calls for a celebration.
That's right.
Okay guys, that's enough, I'm starting the rant now. Okay, here we go. MHA Chapter 383. It's a fast-paced flashback chapter, featuring the events on what led to Big Boy making his way over to Gunga Mountain. Now do take note that this video will not be a full recap, we are just gonna be ranting about things that don't make sense. But before we start, let me say a little something. So back in chapter 353, there was a huge announcement regarding Sunbird getting defeated. Basically every hero out in the field is informed of it, and the entire thing is presented as a massive win. Anyways, my main question about this is, how come this is the only big announcement ever made in the final battle? What about the others? Aren't there many more things all heroes in the field must know about? The announcement suddenly going private is making it look like the heroes noticed there are people watching them, so now they are deliberately withholding information for shock value, so those people will get amazed every time reinforcements arrive. Well, to be fair, looking good to the viewers is part of being a hero after all. Okay, that's enough weird shit. Let's proceed to the rants. So here we go, chapter 383. It's a flashback chapter, and also an incredibly rushed one. No, seriously, everything that happened in this chapter is quickly resolved just a few moments later. Big Boy's escape, the villain attack, the hostage situation, everything. And on top of all that, there are even flashbacks, power-up evolutions. Hell, there's even an attempt at a talk no jutsu. This chapter literally has all the elements an average mini-arc has. But instead of the elements being spread out over several chapters, everything is just crammed into one rushed package instead. And we are back to Gunga Mountain once more. And since the focus is clearly about to go back to Gunga Mountain again, that means 383 is literally just a one-shot standalone explanation chapter, and certainly not the start of a multi-stage story with multi-stage fight sequences, which is odd, since mini-arcs normally last 3 chapters. But then again, when you come to think of it, there's really not much sense to drag out this fight anymore, when not only 99% of the villains there are just nameless irrelevant weaklings, but also because the outcome of the fight is already spoiled. This whole outcome being spoiled ruined over half of the chapter, because the tension is pretty much gone. We already know everyone's going to be safe. All the scenes here that attempted to portray Big Boy as a massive threat only came across as empty. And there's lots of them. Okay, so that's pretty much the issues of the chapter as a whole. Now it's time to look closer and rant about some stuff that don't make sense in this chapter. Now, despite just being a rushed flashback chapter, 383 is not lacking when it comes to the rantables department, with the villains providing most of the rantable bullshit in this chapter, especially this nameless suddenly relevant idiot. So about this nameless suddenly relevant idiot. Basically his biggest issue is that he's the assigned mini-boss of this chapter, yet he's just a nameless nobody. Therefore his mini-boss scenes barely have any impact. And on top of all that, he's casually blabbering how his PLF team is supposedly very powerful, yet 90% of the villains there are already wiped out before he even said that. So yeah, as you can see, not only does this guy lack any impact at all, but also he's full of shit. There's literally no reason to even give a crap about this guy. At this point you could just remove his lines altogether and everything in this chapter will still be the same. But perhaps the most laughably silly part about this nameless PLF idiot is him lifting everyone up. Now, while yes, he technically saved these very few people from getting quicksanded, but notice how none of the lifted villains are even moving, nor even trying to attack. This means that none of these villain idiots even have any long-range quirks to take advantage of the situation to begin with. Furthermore, they don't even get to be maneuvered around the battlefield, nor sent straight onto Big Boy's back. They are just floating around doing nothing. So for short, instead of just being useless on the ground, this dumbass lifted himself and a few people, so now they could also be useless in the air. Best part of all this is no one is calling him an idiot for it, which means we are apparently meant to take this loser seriously. So yeah. The minor PLF scenes are riddled with numerous telling and not showing issues. The manga keeps trying to tell one thing and then show something completely different. All these scenes ever accomplished is just give out more proof that the MLA/PLF are just worthless clowns that should never be taken seriously. But knowing MHA, you can bet your ass the moment the remaining nameless props appear, there will be once again more advertising about how they're supposedly dangerous and we need to take them seriously. Okay, now that the PLF bullshits are done, let's move on to another major villain bullshit in this chapter. Big Boy's giant claw swipe attack. Now as you can see, it's an actual full attack. In fact, McBoy actually ordered him to launch a full attack. But how come it barely did anything? I thought Big Boy's supposed to be powerful. How come the attack just harmlessly knocked out the PLF villains? Is Big Boy supposed to be weak now? But if that's the case, then why even bother sending him to Deadline? I have so many questions.
What the hell's going on?
Also about Deadline. There's just something really odd about the heroes once again ganging up on him over here. Now while yes, Deadline's a bad guy and he needs to be defeated, but what about the League of Losers, the supposed main villains of the show with the most screen time? How come in the finale someone else is getting pummeled instead of them? The focus moved away from Handyman. Libra is barely getting any attention, and Sunbird is even outright getting ignored by the heroes. It's just not f***ing fair. Overall, Chapter 383 is an incredibly rushed chapter, even though it's a product of a 2-week break. But despite that, people generally liked the hero moments in this chapter, especially Monster Girls. And I kinda liked it too, even though her entire encounter with Sludge Idiot felt a little too convenient and forced. Although I do have to ask one thing. How the f*** is this guy, with his defensive quirk that gives him armor, is the only good guy character who started the chapter already with noticeable injuries? He's bleeding out over here while everyone else only have light scratches. It just doesn't make any sense.
Clever, comrade. I'm going to ask the viewers something.
Deadline. About that. The channel's currently experiencing an all-time low on basically everything. According to statistics, no one's watching to the end in the past few weeks. I suggest you ask that question later when the channel's back on the right track.
But I want to ask now.
Okay, what is it?
Hello, viewers. Who is harder, me or the woman?
Deadline, seriously, that's the question you want to ask?
Yeah. What?
I'm ending the video. Deadline, comparing yourself to an ugly person is just a guaranteed win.
But that's the point.